Hi, it's Bonner again, and today we're going to talk about guitar chord diagrams in MuseScore 4.6. It's become a convention in sheet music that our scores show chord diagrams above the staff. We see this in lead sheets, as in the ones we see from the real book, and we see it in commercial piano, vocal, guitar, sheet music as well. It's convenient for us to have chord names or chord diagrams above the music that we're playing. For a beginner guitar player, it's a great tool to support learning new songs and learning new chord voicings that we may not already be familiar with. For advanced guitar players, if you have chord diagrams above the staff, it often means that you can play a song straight off the chart, even if you don't really know the song already, depending on your skill level. Here's our learning agenda for today. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at creating chord symbols in MuseScore, as we will see on a jazz lead sheet. Number two, we're going to look at how we automatically convert chord symbols into fretboard diagrams. This is a newer and very cool feature in MuseScore 4.6. Number three, we're going to look at creating our own fretboard diagrams for more complex chords or where we want to specify a very specific voicing as opposed to just a generic A chord or B chord. Then we're going to look at how we can save our custom voicings or custom chord fretboard diagrams into the fretboard diagram palette so we can use them over and over again in the future. And finally, we're going to look at creating a fretboard diagram legend in our sheet music. So come on along with me now and we'll get with that. So the first thing we're going to do here, we're just going to add chord symbols to our lead sheet. So let's pop over onto the lead sheet and I'll show you how to do that. It's very, very straightforward. Okay, so here we are, MuseScore 4.6, and you can see I've got the lead sheet for Desafinato on here, just the melody. And I'm just going to play that in here. You select a note on the staff where you want the chord symbol to be above. Here's my first note. So you just click on the note. So a Command K if you're on a Mac, or Control K if you're on a Windows PC. I'm on a Mac, Command K, and it gives me just a little entry window and I can put my chord type in here. So I'm going to put in F major 7, just like that. And that's it. And then we're going to enter in the name of our chord. Now this is an interesting discussion we have to have. What chord names does MuseScore understand? So I'm going to quickly put them up on the screen here so you can understand what they are. I'm going to precede that with a little bit of advice. My advice is use chord names that you already know. MuseScore probably supports them. And try to stick with the same abbreviations or naming convention that you already know and use it all at the same time. So stay simple. For example, I like for a major chord, we're going to put the major chord up here. The major chord accepts capital M. So I can put in F capital M. That's F major. I don't need to get into any other variations. Okay. Now where you get tempted into other variations is if you're playing a major 6, okay, or a major 7, or a major 9, and you can just put in your chord naming window, you can just put F capital M 9. That's an F major 9. Nice and simple. If you're accustomed to writing in F major, M-A-J 9, for example, you can do that as well. So here are all the ones that it accepts. For the major chords, you can do capital M, or capital M-A, small a, or capital M, small a-j, or M-A, or small m-a-j, or the delta symbol. They say type T for the triangle, for delta, the delta symbol. Just use the capital M, okay? Minor chord naming, here we go. You use an M, a small m. These are conventions you've seen on 100 lead sheets already. So for minor chord, small m, or small mi, or small min, or minus. Okay, the real book is full of minus. There's lots of minus. And again, with your numbered variations, your color chords, minor 7, minor 9, minor 11, and what have you, you can just use small m 9 for a minor 9, for example. Choose one that you know and just test them out. And you'll see what works and what doesn't. Most of what you've ever used is already supported in MuseScore 4.6. A diminished, it supports dim and the degree symbol, which the degree symbol is entered as a number 0. You can do that. I just put in dim and leave it at that. It's nice and simple, and there's no ambiguity. Half diminished, for half diminished, I just do small m7 flat 5. Okay, minor 7 flat 5. That's a half diminished chord. And it's a nice explicit name if you're getting your charts in front of anybody who's not like a really seasoned pro. It's nice to see the M7 flat 5, the minor 7 flat 5, small M7 flat 5. Everybody knows what that means. Augmented, you can just have aug or plus, and both are common. And then you can, of course, add all the qualifiers that you want, flat 9, sharp 5, just using the normal symbols you would use. Lowercase b for the flat sign, whatever number you want, and a number sign to show as the sharp sign with whatever number you want. The other one you're going to see that's very common is inversions, okay? So inversions, we support in MuseScore, we support the slash chord convention. So for example, a D6 9 with an A bass would be just D6 9 slash A, and that's it. Okay, so I hope that's helpful for you. Okay, so when I want to add chord symbols onto a lead sheet, all I do is click on the note where I want the chord symbol to be above, and then here's my first note. So I just click on the note. I use, as you may have noticed, MuseScore does have a kind of a dependency on keyboard shortcuts, and that's part of its legacy. Sometimes annoying. In this case, very simple. So a Command K if you're on a Mac, or Control K if you're on a Windows PC. I'm on a Mac, Command K, and it gives me just a little entry window, and I can put my chord type in here. So I'm going to put in F major 7, just like that, and that's it. And then I just pressed return to play it, to enter it in. And when you click on the chord name, it plays the actual voicing that you've entered. Let's go on to our next chord just so we can see another example. Okay, here in measure 3, on the first beat of measure 3, I'm going to Command K to get my little chord symbol entry window, and I'm going to play a G7 flat 5 here. So I'm just going to go G7 flat 5. Okay, and that's all you have to do to get chords entered. Okay, so now we've got some chord diagrams on our lead sheet. So what if we want those to be fretboard diagrams? Let's have a look at how we do that. Okay, so what we do here we are on our lead sheet, and you can see we've got chord symbols over the 5 different chords in this particular song. I'm just going to select one of them. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go down here to the select on the menu, and I'm going to choose similar. Now it has selected, as you can see, they're all highlighted. It selected them all. Now I'm going to right click again on one of them selected, and I'm going to choose add fretboard diagram. And now I have fretboard diagrams in place in addition to the chord names. So this is a really, really handy bulk way of getting fretboard diagrams onto your lead sheet. Oh, and I'll just play this whole thing so you can hear how it sounds. we're going to modify one or several of these fretboard diagrams to reflect the voicing that we want to actually play. So this is really, really helpful if you want your guitar player to play a particular voicing, if you're a band leader, or if you're learning a new song and you want to remind yourself to play a particular fretboard voicing or guitar voicing for a chord, then by putting the specific voicing in the diagram, it reminds you what to do. Let's have a look at the lead sheet and see how we do that. Here's our lead sheet with the chord names that we had, and these are the chord voicings that were automatically generated by MuseScore 4.6. Now in particular, I would like to change the voicing that's happening over here on the A minor 7 flat 5. I could play the voicing that's shown, but it's not what I want to play. I don't like the timbre of that voicing. I'm going to click on the fretboard diagram, and then I'm going to go over here to the menu, palettes menu at the side. I'm going to click on properties, and lo and behold, now I have a diagram that shows a blow up of that particular voicing, and the notes are all on here, and I can change what's being played on here. I can turn it into a bar chord. I can do whatever I like. And one of the things that I can do, those are all general settings under the general menu. If I go to the settings menu over here, I can change fundamental aspects of this. So in this particular case, I don't want to change most of these things. Okay, I do want 100% scale. I want to show 6 strings. I want 4 visible frets, but sometimes when we're playing things like a 13 chord or an 11 chord in certain voicings, we sometimes do need more than 4 frets. Okay, I often display for my students 9, an A flat major 9 chord that spans 5 frets just as a demonstration. Anyway, for our purposes today, 4 frets is more than sufficient, and I'm going to place my new voicing at the 4th fret though, instead of the fret where I was. And you'll see on the fretboard diagram now it shows that this is at the 4th fret. And now I can change, I'll go back to my general settings, and I'm going to change what's being played where. Okay, so I want to use this voicing, which is this note will be at the 4th fret on the B string. And then I'm going to be playing here, here, and here. And this is going to be an X here. And you can play this with the E or without. I'm going to leave it muted. So this is the chord voicing that I want to use. This is my A minor 7 flat 5 voicing that I want my my guitar player to use. You can see the diagrams there on the score, and there it is. It's changed. That's all I need to do. We often are building a vocabulary of chord voicings that we like to use over and over again, and this becomes a characteristic of our sound and the way that we arrange. In that case, it's going to be convenient for me to save my most common voicings or voicings that I want to use more than once onto the fretboard diagram palette. And if I go over here to fretboard diagrams, I can just, on my keyboard, hold down Command and Shift, grab that fretboard diagram with my mouse, and you'll see it adds a little plus sign there, and I just drop it in a hole on my fretboard diagram palette, and when I mouse over it now, you'll see that there's my A minor 7 flat 5 fretboard diagram on here. So if I'm creating something from scratch, then I can use any of the fretboard diagrams that are in here. So why don't we look at that? That'll be a little another added bonus. I've saved the fretboard diagram. Let's go down here to our next little section. And I haven't really demonstrated how to use these fretboard diagrams on the fly. We've looked at we've looked at MuseScore helping us a great deal by just creating the chord symbols and then using the chord symbols to generate fretboard diagrams. But what if I just have a piece of the score like down here in measure 9? I don't have a chord there yet, but I'd like to put a chord there. And I have a fretboard diagram that's going to work for me. In this particular case, I'm going to be putting a G minor 7 there. So I'm just going to click on that note, and then I'm going to click on a G minor 7, which I have here. And lo and behold, it just automatically adds the symbol and the fretboard diagram. So this is how we can use our palette as a way of storing the voicings we want to use the most, and then being able to just very, very quickly add them onto our score as we go along, just by selecting the note, click the fretboard diagram, and it goes. And as I already showed you, if you need to modify that fretboard diagram, or perhaps modify it into something similar but different, I've shown you how to do those modifications by selecting their diagram and clicking on the Properties tab over here on the left-hand side. It's become a convention to include a fretboard diagram legend at the top of your piece that shows you a summary of all the voicings that you're using. And that can be really handy if you're dealing with less experienced players, or a wide variety of fretboard diagrams or chord voicings in your piece. So, how do I get a nice fretboard diagram legend into my MuseScore score? Very, very simple. Select the first measure of your song. You go to Add, menu at the top of MuseScore, Frames, and over on the side you have Insert Fretboard Diagram Legend. You click on that, and now you have a nice frame that shows you all the different fretboard diagrams that are going to be used in your piece, which is a handy learning tool for your guitar playing friends. So there it is. Here are some of the most useful aspects of fretboard diagram use in MuseScore 4.6. Today we looked at creating chord symbols in MuseScore, converting chord symbols into fretboard diagrams, creating our own fretboard diagrams, saving our custom fretboard diagrams onto the fretboard diagram palette, and finally creating a fretboard diagram legend for your piece of music. I hope that you find these tips useful. If you look over here, and if you look over here, there are some other videos in the MuseScore series here that I hope you'll also find helpful. Come on back and visit me again soon.